The great hall on Kepler 442c was filled with the sounds of celebration. Aliens from 12 different worlds sat around the massive stone table, their various forms creating strange shadows in the blue light of the moon's twin suns. The war was finally over. Commander Ji-won Kim watched the scene through her ship's viewing screen from orbit. She had been studying these aliens for months now, learning their languages and watching their habits. The humans had been watching much longer than that, but Ji-won was the first to get this close. Down on the moon's surface, the Carathian war chief Vexthala raised his forearms in the air. His hard shell gleamed black under the lights, and his insect-like eyes reflected the faces of his former enemies. "Today we make peace," he said in his clicking voice. "The Void War is finished." Across from him sat High Crystalline Yenthara of the Vellani Federation. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors as she spoke. Blue meant calm, red meant anger, and right now she glowed a soft green that meant hope. 50 years of fighting," she said, her voice sounding like wind chimes. 50 years of death. Now we rebuild. Ji-won made notes in her datapad. The Carathians were strong fighters who valued honor above all else. The Vellani were energy beings who could live for thousands of years. Both sides had spent decades destroying each other's fleets and planets. Now they were too tired and too poor to keep fighting. The other aliens at the table were smaller players in the war. The Threnodi looked like giant fish with arms and legs. They controlled most of the galaxy's trade routes through their underwater cities. The Gaxan were rock-like beings who built the best machines in known space. There were 8 other species, each bringing their own gifts to the peace talks. "The trade routes will open again," said Merchant Prime Guthlock of the Threnodi, his gills flapping as he spoke. "My people are ready to carry goods between all worlds." Engineer Kor Thexan of the Gaxan nodded his heavy stone head. "We will rebuild the destroyed stations. Peace is good for business." Ji-won smiled at that. These aliens thought in simple terms: war or peace, trade or no trade. They had no idea what was coming. Admiral Hyuk Park's voice crackled through her earpiece. "How long until the celebration ends?" he asked. 2 more hours, Ji-won replied softly. "They're signing the formal treaty papers now." "Good. Are you ready?" Ji-won looked at her instruments. The Soul's Pride was the most advanced ship humanity had ever built, but to alien sensors it looked like empty space. Their stealth technology was decades ahead of anything these species had developed. "Ready, sir," she said. On the moon below, the aliens were passing around a ceremonial cup. Each species drank from it as a sign of their promise to keep peace. The Carathians drank with their sharp mandibles. The Vellani absorbed the liquid directly through their crystal skin. The Threnodi used their gills to filter it. Dr. Mina Lee, sitting next to Ji-won on the bridge, watched with interest. "Look at how they interact," she said. "Each species stays with their own kind. They're not really united. They're just tired." That was the key difference, Ji-won thought. Humans understood unity in a way these aliens did not. Earth had learned that lesson through countless wars of their own. These galactic species were still learning. The peace treaty was a simple document. Both sides would stop fighting. Both sides would stay in their own space. Trade would resume slowly. There were no big plans for cooperation or shared goals. It was not peace through friendship, but peace through exhaustion. Captain Do-Yun Choi's reconnaissance ship had been mapping alien positions for weeks. He reported to Ji-won every day about fleet movements and planetary defenses. The aliens were weak right now. Their military forces were spread thin. Their economies were broken. It was the perfect time for humanity to reveal itself. But that was not the human way. Earth's government had decided long ago that they would not conquer through force. They had watched the Void War destroy billions of lives in countless worlds. Humanity would offer something different. "Sir," Ji-won said into her communicator, "the treaty is signed. They're starting the final ceremony." "Begin Phase 1, Admiral," Park replied. Ji-won's fingers moved across her control panel. The Soul's Pride slowly moved out of the shadow of Kepler 442c's larger moon. Their stealth systems were still active, but now they were positioning themselves where alien sensors might detect them if they looked hard enough. Down on the surface, the celebration continued. The aliens shared stories of famous battles and honored their dead. They spoke of rebuilding their worlds and returning to peaceful ways. None of them noticed the small energy signature that appeared on the edge of their scanning range. The first to see it was a young Carathian sensor operator named Thekvar. He was monitoring space around the moon to watch for any remaining enemy ships that might try to attack the peace talks. When he saw the strange reading, he checked his instruments twice. "War Chief," he said, his voice tight with worry. "I detect an unknown vessel." The Great Hall fell silent. 50 years of war had made every alien nervous about surprise attacks. Vexthala's eyes turned toward the communication panel on the wall. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen lit up with a star map of the local area. A single red dot pulsed at the edge of sensor range. It was too far away to identify, but it was. Definitely artificial. "Could be a scout ship," said High Crystalline Yenthara, her colors shifting to orange with concern. "Perhaps someone does not want peace. Or perhaps," said Merchant Prime Guthlock, "it is someone we have not met before." That thought made them all uncomfortable. These 12 species believed they knew every intelligent race in the galaxy. They had been exploring space for thousands of years. The idea that someone new might exist was both exciting and terrifying. Jiwan watched their reactions through the ship's cameras. Fear, curiosity, suspicion. These aliens had spent so long fighting each other that they saw every stranger as either enemy or prey. They had no concept of genuine neutrality or peaceful contact. "Moving to Phase 2, she reported to Admiral Park. The Soul's Pride dropped its stealth systems completely. Suddenly, instead of a small energy signature, alien sensors detected a full-sized vessel with unknown technology signatures. The ship itself was still too far away to see clearly, but its energy patterns were unlike anything in their databases. The peace celebration turned into an emergency meeting in seconds. Alien delegates scrambled to contact their home fleets. Ancient enemies who had just signed peace treaties started arguing about who should respond to this new threat. "It could be a trick," Vexathala said, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "The Vellani could have built a new type of ship." "Impossible," Yenthara replied, her crystal body flashing red with anger. "Our energy signatures are completely different." Captain Dohyun Choi, monitoring from his hidden position near the Carathian home fleet, smiled as he watched their ships scramble to form defensive positions. These aliens were so used to war that peace made them more paranoid, not less. Unknown vessel. Came a transmission from the moon's surface. "This is War Chief Vexathala of the Carathian Empire. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." Jiwan looked at Dr. Lee, who nodded. "Time to say hello," the doctor said. "Unknown vessel," the transmission continued. "You have 10 minutes to respond before we consider you hostile." Jiwan opened a communication channel. She had practiced this moment for months. Her first words to galactic civilization had to be perfect. "This is Commander Jiwan Kim of the Human Expeditionary Fleet," she said, in perfect Carathian battle language. "We come in peace. We wish to speak." The silence that followed was complete. In all their years of space travel, none of these alien species had ever heard the word human before. The word human echoed through the Great Hall like a stone dropped into still water. Every alien delegate stared at the communication screen with different expressions of confusion and fear. None of their languages had this word. None of their databases contained any record of this species. War Chief Vexathala's forearms trembled slightly as he processed what he had heard. The unknown being had spoken perfect Carathian battle language, using the proper formal address for first contact between warrior cultures. But the accent was wrong. The rhythm was strange. It was like hearing a familiar song played with instruments that should not exist. "Impossible," he whispered, his mandibles clicking nervously. We know every intelligent species in the galaxy. High. Crystalline Yanthara's body shifted through several colors before settling on deep purple, which meant deep thought mixed with worry. Perhaps we do not know as much as we believed, she said. Ambassador Sun Wuhan watched these reactions from the bridge of the soul's pride. He had studied alien psychology for 20 years, learning how each species thought and communicated. The Carathians valued directness and strength. The Villani appreciated logic and patience. The Threnodi respected successful traders. Each species would need to be approached differently. Jiwan, he said quietly to the commander, let me take over communications. This requires diplomatic touch. Commander Kim nodded and stepped aside. Han had trained for this moment his entire life. First contact with galactic civilization was humanity's most important step into the larger universe. War Chief Vexithala, Han said, switching to a more formal tone. I am Ambassador Sun Wuhan of the human species. We have been observing your war from a distance. We waited until you made peace before revealing ourselves. The Great Hall erupted in angry voices. Some aliens accused others of hiding this new species. Others demanded to know how long humans had been watching them. The Carathians reached for weapons that were not there, while the Villani's crystals flashed warning colors. Silence! Vexithala roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. Unknown human, how long have you been spying on us? Han smiled. The war chief was direct, as expected. We have been watching for 150 of your standard years, he said calmly. We learned your languages from your radio signals. We studied your cultures from your entertainment broadcasts. We mapped your territories by following your trade ships. Merchant Prime Guthlock of the Threnodi leaned forward, his fish-like eyes wide with shock. 150 years? That is impossible. Our sensors would have detected you. Your sensors are designed to find the technologies you understand, said Dr. Yuna Bay, joining the conversation from her position at the science station. Human technology developed along different paths. We use principles that your physics consider impossible. To prove her point, Dr. Bay activated one of the ship's demonstration systems. The Soul's Pride suddenly appeared to split into 3 identical vessels on the alien sensors. Then the 3 ships merged back into one. Then the ship seemed to fade in and out of existence like a ghost. Energy projection and phase manipulation, Dr. Bay explained. We learned to bend space-time while you were perfecting particle weapons and energy shields. Down on the moon, the alien delegates stared at their sensor readings in disbelief. Engineer Korthexan of the Gaxan ran the data through his people's most advanced computers. These readings make no sense, he rumbled in his deep stone voice. The energy patterns violate 3 fundamental laws of physics. Your laws, Hani corrected gently. Not universal laws. Each species discovers science through their own needs and limitations. Humans had different limitations, so we found different solutions. General Taewan Lim had been listening to the conversation from his command ship hidden several light hours away. He decided it was time to reveal the full scope of human presence in the galaxy. Ambassador Han, he said through the communication system, show them the settlement data. Han nodded and transmitted a star map to the alien delegates. Red dots appeared scattered throughout their galaxy, marking human colonies and outposts. There were hundreds of them, on worlds the aliens had never bothered to explore or had dismissed as uninhabitable. These are human settlements, Han explained. We have been quietly living in your galaxy for generations. We chose worlds you considered worthless. High-gravity planets, toxic atmospheres, radiation-soaked systems near unstable stars. What kills you makes us stronger. The silence in the Great Hall was deafening. These aliens had been fighting over territory for thousands of years, never realizing that an entire species had been building cities in places they would never think to look. Scientist Junho Kang had spent years studying alien psychology, and he understood what they were feeling now. You are afraid, he said, his voice kind but direct. You think we are here to conquer you while you are weak from war. Several alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. That was exactly what they were thinking. We are not conquerors, Han said, firmly. If we wanted your territory, we would have taken it during your war when your fleets were busy destroying each other. We are here because we want to join your galactic community as equals. Join us? Vexathala's voice carried a mix of suspicion and curiosity. What do humans want from us? Dr. Bay smiled and activated another demonstration. The ship's hull began to shift and change, adapting to different energy frequencies like a living thing. We want to learn, she said. Your crystalline energy manipulation technology is fascinating. Your biomechanical engineering is elegant. Your quantum mathematics are beautiful. We have been watching and learning for decades, but there is only so much we can discover by observation. The demonstration continued as the ship's weapon systems activated, but instead of firing destructive beams, they projected solid holographic constructs that looked real enough to touch. The weapons could apparently create matter from energy, building tools and structures in empty space. How is this possible? Yenthara asked, her crystal body cycling through colors too fast to follow. We learned to work with quantum uncertainty instead of fighting against it, Dr. Bay explained. Your species try to control the universe through force and rigid laws. Humans learn to dance with chaos and turn randomness into tools. The aliens were struggling to understand concepts that challenged everything they thought they knew about technology and physics. Their sciences were based on controlling and predicting natural forces. Human science seemed to be based on adapting and flowing with those same forces. You said you want to join our community, said Merchant Prime Guthlock, his business instincts overcoming his fear. What do you offer in exchange for membership? Han had been waiting for that question. We offer partnership, he said. Your species have been stuck in the same patterns for thousands of years. You fight over the same resources, use the same technologies, make the same mistakes. Humans think differently. We can help you solve problems you did not even know you had. To demonstrate, Han transmitted detailed scans of several damaged space stations the aliens had abandoned during the war. Your engineers say these stations cannot be repaired, he said. The structural damage is too severe and the cost would be too high. But human engineering teams could restore them in weeks using adaptive reconstruction techniques. Engineer Core. Thexan studied the human proposals with growing amazement. These methods, and they should not work. The stress calculations are impossible. Impossible for rigid materials, Dr. Bay agreed. But human materials adapt to stress instead of breaking under it. We build with living metal that heals itself and grows stronger when damaged. The peace treaty that had been signed just hours earlier was already forgotten. The alien delegates were too fascinated and terrified by these revelations to think about their own petty conflicts. Here was a species that had been hiding in plain sight, watching their wars and quietly building an advanced civilization in the spaces between their worlds. We need time to discuss this, Vexathala said finally. This changes everything we thought we knew about our galaxy. Of course, Han replied. We have waited 150 years. We can wait a little longer. But as the human ships began to withdraw to a respectful distance, every alien delegate was thinking the same thing. The war between their species was truly over, but something much bigger was just beginning. Captain Do-hyun Choi, still hidden near the Karathian fleet, watched as alien ships scrambled to reposition themselves. They were no longer worried about attacks from their old enemies. Now they were trying to figure out how to deal with neighbors they never knew existed. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 days had passed since first contact, and the alien delegates were still arguing. War Chief Vexathala paced the great hall like a caged predator, his 4 arms gesturing wildly as he spoke to his advisors. The Karathian way was simple. When you met a new species, you either fought them or traded with them. But humans did not fit into either category. They claimed to be peaceful, he said, his mandibles clicking with frustration. But they hide in our space like spies. They claim to want friendship, but they show us weapons we cannot understand. How do we know if they speak truth? High crystalline Yenthara's body glowed a steady amber, which meant she was thinking deeply. Perhaps we test them, she suggested. The Karathian way is combat. Challenge them to prove their intentions. Vexathala stopped pacing. His insect-like eyes gleamed with interest. Yes, if they are truly peaceful, they will refuse to fight. If they are warriors pretending to be peaceful, they will accept and reveal their true nature. The other alien delegates gathered around the communication console as Vexathala composed his challenge. Ambassador Han answered from the human ship almost immediately, as if he had been expecting this call. Human ambassador, Vexathala said. Formally, the Carathian Empire requests proof of your peaceful intentions. I challenge your finest warrior to single combat in our traditional arena. If your people are truly peaceful, you will refuse this challenge. There was a long pause before Han replied. War Chief, we accept your challenge. Captain Soman Park will represent humanity in combat. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. The humans had accepted a fight while claiming to be peaceful. What did this mean? I do not understand, Yenthara said, her crystal body shifting to orange with confusion. Humans are complex, Han's voice came through the speakers. We fight when we must, but we prefer to solve problems without violence. We accept your challenge because refusing would insult your culture, and we wish to be respectful neighbors. Captain. Soman Park was already preparing for combat aboard the human ship. She was small compared to most alien warriors, barely reaching the shoulder of an average Carathian, but she had trained for exactly this situation. Human military doctrine was built around fighting opponents who were bigger, stronger, and better armed. The combat arena on Kepler 442c was an ancient stone circle that had been used for ritual battles for thousands of years. Alien delegates filled the viewing platforms, eager to see how humans fought. The Carathians expected brutal direct combat. The Villani expected elegant energy manipulation. Everyone expected the human to lose quickly. Vexathala chose his champion, carefully. War leader Kethavar was one of the largest Carathians alive, standing 3 meters tall with armor-plated skin and 4 powerful arms. He had never lost a single combat in 200 battles. Captain Park entered the arena wearing simple human combat gear, lightweight armor that seemed almost decorative compared to Carathian warplates, and weapons that looked like toys next to the massive war blades her opponent carried. Is this human serious? Rumbled Engineer Korthexin. That creature is half the size of a Carathian child. Dr. Yunbi Nam, watching from the human ship, smiled. Size is not everything, she said into the communication channel. Humans learned long ago that bigger does not always mean better. The combat began with traditional Carathian rules. No energy weapons, no external assistance, fight until one warrior could not continue. War leader Kethvar charged across the arena with a roar that shook the stone walls, his forearms swinging massive blades in a pattern that should have cut any opponent in half. Captain Park did something no alien had ever seen in combat. She ran away. The viewing platforms erupted in confused chatter. Running from combat was considered the ultimate dishonor in Carathian culture, but Park was not fleeing in panic. She was moving with purpose, using the arena's terrain to her advantage. Kethavar pursued her, his heavy footsteps crushing the stone floor. But every time he got close enough to strike, Park was somewhere else. She leaped over obstacles he had to smash through. She squeezed through gaps too small for his massive frame. She turned the arena itself into her weapon. What is she doing? Vexathala demanded. Learning, replied Engineer Wanho Kim from the human ship. Captain Park is studying her opponent's movement patterns, timing his attacks, and mapping his weaknesses. The chase continued for 10 minutes. Kethvar grew more and more frustrated as his opponent refused to stand and fight. His swings became wilder and less controlled. His breathing grew heavy. His coordination began to suffer. Then Captain Park stopped running. She turned to face the charging Carathian warrior and pulled out a small device that looked like a metal stick. As Kethavar swung his foreblades downward, Park activated her weapon. The metal stick extended into a staff, then split into multiple sections connected by energy fields, creating a weapon that could bend and twist like a living thing. Park's staff wrapped around one of Kethavar's blades and used his own momentum to throw him off balance. As he stumbled, she struck pressure points on his arms that no alien had known existed. The massive warrior's limbs went numb, and his weapons clattered to the ground. Impossible. Vexthala whispered. But Captain Park was not finished. Instead of delivering a killing blow, she helped the fallen warrior to his feet and bowed respectfully. "You fought with honor, war leader Kethavar," she said in perfect Carathian. "I hope we can fight together against common enemies instead of against each other." The arena fell completely silent. In Carathian culture, helping a defeated enemy was unthinkable, but somehow it did not seem weak when the human did it. It seemed stronger. Pilot Kyungmin Lee had been watching the combat from his fighter craft, and now he received new orders from Admiral Park. "Show them our flight capabilities," came the message. Lee's ship descended into the arena where massive obstacles had been set up for aerial combat trials. The course was designed to test the limits of alien technology: tight turns that would crush most pilots, energy fields that would scramble normal navigation systems, and obstacles that moved in random patterns. No pilot has ever completed this course in less than 10 minutes, Vexthala announced. Most crash within the first minute. Lee's ship entered the course and immediately did something impossible. It changed shape. Wings folded and extended, hull sections rotated, and the entire craft adapted its form to match each obstacle. When the course required tight turns, the ship became small and agile. When it needed speed, the ship stretched into a sleek arrow. When obstacles blocked the path, the ship flowed through gaps like liquid metal. Lee completed the course in 37 seconds. The alien observers stared at their sensor readings in disbelief. The ship had not simply flown through the obstacles, it had danced with them, treating the deadly course like a complex puzzle to be solved with creativity rather than brute force. "Your ships are alive," Yenthara said, her crystal body shifting through amazed colors. "All human technology is alive in a sense," explained Dr. Yuna Bay from the observation platform. "We learned to build machines that think and adapt rather than simply following programmed instructions." The demonstrations continued throughout the day. Human engineers showed how their tools could repair themselves and grow stronger when damaged. Human medics demonstrated healing techniques that worked on alien biology, even though they had never treated these species before. Human scientists solved mathematical problems that had puzzled alien academics for centuries. But the most impressive demonstration came from medic Haeon Young. When one of the Threnody delegates accidentally injured himself on a sharp piece of arena equipment, Young immediately rushed to help. She had never treated a Threnody before, but she studied the injury for only a few seconds before beginning treatment. "Your blood chemistry is copper-based instead of iron-based," she said as she worked. "Your circulatory system uses pressure, differentials rather than muscle contractions. Your healing response requires saltwater minerals to activate properly." Jung applied a treatment that should not have worked on alien biology, but somehow did. The injury healed faster than Threnody medicine could have managed. "How did you know?" asked the injured delegate, flexing his restored limb in amazement. "Humans are good at recognizing patterns," Jung explained. "We see connections that others miss. Your biology is different from ours, but life follows similar rules everywhere." As the day ended and the aliens returned to their ships, they carried with them a new understanding of what humans represented. These beings were not conquerors, or traitors or any other type of species the galaxy had seen before. They were something entirely new, a species that succeeded by adapting to challenges rather than overwhelming them. War Chief Vexthala stood in his command center, staring at the human ship on his view screen. His defeated champion, war leader, Kethavar, stood beside him. "What do you think of these humans?" Vexthala asked. Kethavar touched his arm where Captain Park had struck the pressure points. The technique had been precise, effective, and completely unknown to Carathian medical science. "I think," he said slowly, "that we have been fighting the wrong battles for a very long time." High Crystalline Yenthara reached the same conclusion. Aboard her own vessel, the humans had demonstrated abilities that challenged everything. 2 weeks after the combat demonstrations, something unprecedented happened in galactic history. The Carathian Empire and the Villani Federation requested a joint meeting with the humans. Species that had been killing each other for 50 years were now working together to understand their new neighbors. Admiral Kangmin Seo, commanded the human diplomatic fleet from his flagship, the Busan's Hope. He watched through the viewscreen as alien vessels that should have been firing at each other instead flew in careful formation toward the neutral meeting point. The humans had accomplished in days what centuries of peace negotiations had failed to achieve. They had given former enemies a common purpose. "Admiral," reported Captain Myungjun Cho from the intelligence station, "I'm detecting something interesting. The aliens are sharing navigation data and defensive positions. They're actually coordinating their movements." Seo smiled. "Fear makes strange allies," he said, "but understanding makes lasting ones." The meeting took place aboard a massive Threnody trade station that had been neutral territory during the war. Merchant Prime Guthlock had volunteered his facility because he understood that whatever happened next would affect trade throughout the galaxy. The station's huge cargo bays had been converted into conference rooms where beings who had never spoken peacefully could learn to work together. Diplomat Jisoo Yang led the human delegation into the main conference hall. She had studied each alien species for years, learning not just their languages but their cultural values and social structures. The key to successful diplomacy was understanding what each group truly wanted beneath their stated demands. War Chief Vexthala and High Crystalline Yenthara sat at opposite ends of the curved conference table, as far apart as possible while still participating in the same meeting. The tension between them was obvious, but they were both focused on the humans rather than each other. "We have studied your demonstrations," Vexthala began, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Your technology is impressive, but we must ask, what do you truly want from our galaxy?" "We want partnership," Yang replied simply. "But first, let me show you something that might surprise you." Captain Cho activated a holographic display that filled the center of the conference room. It showed a detailed map of the galaxy with trade routes, resource deposits, and territorial boundaries clearly marked. But instead of the chaotic patchwork the aliens expected, the map showed elegant patterns of efficiency and cooperation. "This is what your galaxy could look like," Yang explained, "if you worked together instead of fighting each other." The display zoomed in on specific examples. Mining operations in Carathian space could provide raw materials for Vellani energy projects. Vellani crystal technology could enhance Threnody trade ships. Gaxan engineering could build space stations that all species could use. Each species had strengths that perfectly complemented the other's weaknesses. "Impossible," rumbled Engineer Core Thexan. "We have been competing for the same resources for thousands of years." "Because you were thinking in terms of scarcity," said Dr. Seungho Park, joining the conversation from the human science station. "Humans learned long ago that cooperation creates abundance. When different groups work together, they can achieve things that none could accomplish alone." To demonstrate this principle, Dr. Park activated another holographic display. This one showed the human colony worlds that the aliens had discovered during first contact. But now the display revealed something new. Many of those worthless worlds were actually rich in resources that could benefit multiple species. "This planet has extreme gravity that would crush most aliens," Dr. Park explained, pointing to one colony world. "But the gravity also compresses rare minerals into concentrated deposits. We can mine them safely and share them with you." "This world has a toxic atmosphere," he continued, indicating another colony. "But that atmosphere is perfect for growing crystals that could revolutionize Vellani energy storage. And this system," he said, highlighting a third colony, "sits in a radiation field from an unstable star. The radiation would kill most life forms, but it also creates quantum effects that could advance everyone's faster than light travel." The alien delegates stared at the displays in amazement. Worlds they had dismissed as uninhabitable were actually treasure troves of opportunity, if you knew how to approach them correctly. "You see problems where we see possibilities," Yang said gently. "That is the difference between human thinking and galactic thinking." Merchant Prime Guthlock leaned forward, his business instincts engaged. "You are proposing massive changes to galactic trade and economy. How do we know this will work?" "Because we have already tested it," Yang replied. The holographic display changed again, this time showing detailed economic projections. trade routes that avoided conflict zones, resource-sharing agreements that benefited all parties, technology, exchanges that advanced every species simultaneously. The numbers were compelling, but more than that, they were based on real human experience with cooperation. On Earth, Yang explained, humans fought tribal wars for thousands of years. Each group competed for the same limited resources, just like your species do now. But we learned that working together created more resources than anyone had imagined. Possible. War Chief Vexthala's forearms drummed against the table as he processed this information. You speak of cooperation, but the Carathian way is strength through conflict. How do we maintain our warrior traditions in this peaceful galaxy? You describe? Who said anything about peace? Yang replied with a slight smile. The room fell silent. Every alien delegate stared at her in confusion. The universe is full of challenges that require warriors, Yang continued. Asteroid fields that threaten, shipping lanes, space storms that damage trade routes, pirates who prey on merchant vessels, and beyond our galaxy, there are threats we have only begun to detect. Dr. Yunbi Nam, the human xenopsychology expert, activated a new display showing long-range sensor data from the galactic rim. Our deep space monitors have detected energy signatures that do not match any known technology. Something is out there, beyond the edge of explored space. When it arrives, this galaxy will need every warrior, every engineer, every trader working together to survive. The implications hit the alien delegates like a physical blow. They had been so focused on fighting each other that they had never considered threats from outside their known universe. You are saying, Yanthara said slowly, her crystal body cycling through concerned colors, that our war with each other made us vulnerable to something worse? Not vulnerable, Yang corrected. Unprepared. But that can change. Admiral Seo chose that moment to enter the conference room personally. His presence commanded immediate attention from every alien in the room. Despite being smaller than most of them, he carried himself with the confidence of someone who had faced impossible challenges and survived. I have spent 40 years in space, Seo said, his voice calm but powerful. I have seen what happens when different groups work together, and I have seen what happens when they fight. Every species in this room has strengths that others need. Every species has weaknesses that others can help overcome. He gestured to the holographic displays around them. The Carathians are the finest warriors in the galaxy, but they struggle with energy technology. The Villani are masters of energy manipulation, but they need physical protection. The Threnodi control trade routes, but they lack the military power to defend them. The Gaxan build incredible machines, but they need rare materials from dangerous worlds. Now imagine, Seo continued, Carathian warriors protecting Villani energy projects, Villani crystals powering Threnodi trade ships, Threnodi merchants distributing Gaxan technology, Gaxan engineers building space stations that serve all species, human colonists harvesting resources from worlds too dangerous for others to approach. The vision he painted was compelling, but Yang knew that fear was still holding the aliens back. Centuries of mistrust could not be overcome with logic alone. We propose a test, she said. A joint mission to prove that cooperation works better than competition. What kind of mission? Asked Vexthala, his warrior instincts engaged. One of the ancient automated mining platforms in the Kepler Nebula has gone rogue, Yang explained. It's attacking any ship that comes near, using weapons that are beyond any single species' ability to defeat. Your military experts have declared it unsalvageable. The weapons are too advanced, Yanthara confirmed. The energy fields are too complex. We have lost 3 ships trying to approach it. But working together, Yang said, we could reclaim it. Carathian ships could provide military protection. Villani energy specialists could analyze the weapon systems. Threnodi pilots could navigate the nebula's dangers. Gaxan engineers could disable the platform's defenses. And human technical teams could adapt our technology to solve problems the others cannot handle. The conference room buzzed with excited conversations as alien delegates discussed the proposal among themselves. The idea of a joint mission was revolutionary, but the potential rewards were enormous. The mining platform contained enough rare, materials to fund reconstruction projects across multiple worlds. If we succeed, Yang continued, we prove that cooperation works. If we fail, you can return to your old ways of doing things. 1 year later, the galaxy had become a place that none of the alien species would have recognized. The joint mission to Kepler Nebula had been such a complete success that it had transformed from a simple test of cooperation into the foundation of an entirely new galactic order. President Ji-hoon Yoon stood before the first truly representative galactic senate, looking out at delegates from 15 different worlds. Carathians sat next to Villani without reaching for weapons. Threnody, merchants shared tables with Gaxan engineers, and scattered throughout the great assembly hall were humans, no longer hidden observers but full participants in galactic civilization. 1 year ago, President Yoon began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. Your species thought the war was over. You were right, but not in the way you expected. The war between your peoples has ended, but it has been replaced by something better, a war against the limitations that kept you apart. The success at Kepler Nebula had been just the beginning. The rogue mining platform had been disabled and reclaimed exactly as the humans had predicted, through cooperation that combined each species' unique strengths. But more importantly, the mission had shown every participant that working together produced results that none could have achieved alone. Admiral Dayun Shin commanded the new integrated galactic fleet from the Bridge of the Soul's Light, a ship that represented everything the galaxy had become. Her crew included Carathian tactical officers, Villani energy specialists, Threnody navigation experts, Gaxan engineering teams, and human coordination staff. They worked together so smoothly that it was hard to remember they had once been members of warring species. Admiral, reported her Carathian tactical officer, war leader Kethvar. The patrol ships are reporting normal conditions throughout the outer rim sectors. Kethvar had volunteered to serve under human command after his combat with Captain Park had shown him a completely new way of thinking about warfare. Instead of fighting for dominance, he now fought to protect the cooperative civilization that had emerged from the ashes of the old galactic order. Dr. Seung-ho Park had established the first interspecies research institute on the planet New Hope, a world that had been uninhabitable to any single species but was perfect when different groups worked together. Carathian heavy industry provided the infrastructure. Villani energy systems powered the facilities. Threnody trade networks supplied resources from across the galaxy. Gaxan engineering built laboratories that could accommodate the needs of all species. And human adaptive technology made it all work together seamlessly. The breakthrough in quantum biology is proceeding ahead of schedule, Dr. Park reported to President Yoon during their weekly conference call. By combining Villani energy manipulation with human genetic adaptation techniques, we have developed medical treatments that work on all known life forms. These advances were only possible because different species had finally started sharing their knowledge instead of hoarding it as military secrets. The Carathians had revealed fighting techniques that were being adapted for use in dangerous rescue operations. The Villani had shared energy manipulation methods that revolutionized power generation. The Threnody had opened their trade routes to everyone, creating economic prosperity that benefited all worlds. But perhaps the most important change was psychological. Ambassador Yuna Kim had spent months traveling between different worlds, helping alien populations adjust to the new galactic order. The fear and suspicion that had defined interspecies relations for millennia was slowly being replaced by curiosity and mutual respect. The children adapt fastest, she reported from her latest assignment on a mixed colony world. Young Carathians and Villani play together without any awareness that their parents were once enemies. They see differences in biology and culture as interesting rather than threatening. This new generation was growing up in integrated schools, where they learned multiple languages and studied the sciences and cultures of all galactic species. They would become the leaders of a truly united galaxy, free from the prejudices and limitations that had trapped their parents in cycles of conflict. The economic transformation had been equally dramatic. Merchant Prime Guthlock now operated the largest trade network in galactic history, with ships from all species carrying goods between worlds that had never traded before. Resources that had been fought over for centuries were now shared freely, creating abundance where there had once been scarcity. Trade volume has increased by 400% since the formation of the Galactic Cooperation Treaty, Guthlock reported to the Senate. Conflicts over resource rights have dropped to zero. When everyone benefits from trade, no one has reason to disrupt it. The military changes were perhaps the most remarkable. War Chief Vexathala had been elected as the first Supreme Commander of the Integrated Defense Forces, leading military units that combine the strengths of all species. But instead of preparing for war against each other, they were training for something much more important. The long-range sensors that had detected mysterious energy signatures beyond the galactic rim had finally identified the source. An invasion, fleet from another galaxy, using technology that was completely alien to anything the known species had encountered. The extragalactic contact is confirmed, Captain Myung-Jun Cho reported from his position as head of Galactic Intelligence. We estimate first contact will occur in approximately 18 months. The energy signatures suggest a civilization that is both highly advanced and potentially hostile. But the galaxy that would face this external threat was nothing like the fractured, war-torn collection of species that had existed just 1 year earlier. The integrated fleet included thousands of ships from all member species, working together with a coordination and efficiency that would have been impossible under the old system. "Let them come," Vexathala said during a military briefing, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of confidence. They will face not individual species fighting alone, but a united galaxy that has learned to combine the strengths of many different peoples. The preparation for this ultimate test had already begun. Human adaptive technology was being integrated with alien systems to create defenses that could respond to unknown threats. Carathian warriors were training alongside Volani energy specialists to develop new combat techniques. Threnodi pilots were learning to fly ships equipped with Gaxan engineering and powered by cooperative energy systems. Dr. Yunbi Nam had established the Xenopsychology Corps, teams of specialists from all species who were studying the psychological profiles of the approaching aliens. By understanding how the invaders thought and what motivated them, the galaxy would be better prepared to defend itself, or, if possible, find peaceful solutions to the conflict. Every species brings different perspectives to the problem, Dr. Nam explained to President Yoon. Humans excel at adaptation and creative problem-solving. Carathians understand warrior mentality and honor-based societies. Volani think in terms of energy and long-term consequences. Threnodi understand trade and negotiation. Gaxan approach problems through engineering and practical solutions. President Yoon stood once again before the Galactic Senate as they prepared to vote on the final preparations for the coming crisis. The transformation of galactic civilization in just 1 year had been remarkable, but it was only the beginning. "Representatives of 15 worlds," he said, looking out at the diverse assembly. "1 year ago your species thought the war was over. You were right. The age of fighting each other has ended forever. But now we face a new kind of war. A war to defend the cooperative civilization we have built together." The vote was unanimous. Every species, every world, every representative agreed to the final integration of their military, economic, and scientific resources. They would face the external threat not as separate peoples who happened to share the same galaxy, but as one civilization with many different strengths. Ambassador Yuna Kim delivered the closing speech, speaking in the ancient ceremonial language that all species could understand. They thought the war was over when we arrived. They were right, but not as they expected. We ended their war against each other, so that together we could win the war that truly mattered, the war for the future of intelligent life in this galaxy. As the Senate session ended and delegates from different worlds embraced each other in gestures of unity that would have been unthinkable just 1 year earlier, the massive viewing screens around the chamber showed the integrated fleet in formation. Thousands of ships from dozens of species flying together in perfect coordination toward the edge of known space. Admiral Shin stood on the bridge of her flagship, surrounded by crew members whose ancestors had been bitter enemies. "All ships, report ready for hyperspace jump," announced her Volani navigation officer. Fleet command to all vessels. Shin broadcast across the entire armada. We jump as one, we fight as one, we protect the galaxy as one. The combined fleet of the United Galaxy jumped to hyperspace in perfect synchronization, heading toward the unknown threat that waited beyond the rim of their universe. They flew not as conquerors or victims, but as the defenders of a civilization that had learned the most important lesson in the history of intelligent life, that different peoples working together could accomplish anything.